out for a Dunwoody prep.
The motive is simple. He wanted his wife, he wanted his money, and he wanted to live his life. He wanted Andrea Sneiderman. He wanted to be with her. He wanted to marry her. He wanted Rusty Sneiderman's money. Rusty Sneiderman had everything that Hemy Neuman wanted.
Did Andrea admit or deny an affair with her boss at that time after the murder?
Denied it.
Based on all the time you've known Andrea, based on your observations of her, her mannerisms, when she told you no, did you believe her?
No, but my heart really wanted to believe her.
But you didn't believe her. Thank you, ma'am.
So, yeah.
We, the jury, find the defendant as to count 1 guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but mentally ill.
It's more than about mental illness. It is about mental illness in the hands of a manipulator, of a calculating, very, very bad woman.
Do you have any idea why the defendant would have these feelings toward you? I don't want you to speculate. Do you know why he might have them?
I think I'm a pretty nice person.
She actually thought she could take the witness stand and maintain the position that she's maintained since Rusty's death, which is that there was no relationship with Hemy.
The gun, in this case, was in Hemy's hand. But the trigger, I respectfully suggest, was pulled by Andrea Sneiderman.
Ms. Sneiderman was placed under arrest earlier today and is currently being booked into the DeKalb County Jail. Outlined in that 19-page indictment are 8 counts that I, along with Chief Assistant Don Geary, are prepared to argue in a court of law.
Andrea Sneiderman is pleading to nothing. We expect that she will be exonerated at trial. She has every reason to believe she will be exonerated at trial, and she is going to.
Well, her trial starts Monday, but Andrea Sneiderman will not be facing murder charges. Yesterday, the judge approved the district attorney's motion to dismiss the most serious charges against her.
I'm joined now. She's qualified based on her responses, based on all the questions in totality. Bring in the next one. She's qualified. 19 is qualified. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Juror 21. I don't have that you raised your card or your number at any time this morning. Is that right? You didn't raise your number at any time this morning to any of the questions? Okay, just wanted to make sure I got that. And you were born in Haiti? Yes. Okay. But you don't have any language problem or any difficulty understanding what's going on today? Okay. I'm sorry?
Some would.
Some? You have? Okay. When you didn't raise your hand this morning, was it because you weren't sure what any of the questions were? No? Okay. All right. And you understood the judge's instructions and
Yeah, sometimes you go too fast and then...
Okay. I'll try to slow down. Thank you. All right.
Number 21, what is your primary language? Or your first language? Is it French?
French Creole.
French Creole. And how long have you been in the United States?
Since 97.
And you work as a nurse, is that correct?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. On the questionnaire, the question was whether the nature of this case or anything about this case might affect your ability to be fair if you were a juror. And you answered yes. What is it about this kind of case or the nature of this case that makes you worried about that?
Something just happened now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the guy name, the one just passed on the Florida, the little boy.
Okay, Trevion Martin?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Okay. And what, did you follow that case pretty closely?
Well, I see he's hurt. Like, he's hurt. He cannot be my son tomorrow.
Did you disagree with what happened there, with the verdict in that case? Or let me put it a different way. Did you identify for your sons with the victim in that case?
Lawyers approach, please.
Thank you.
Mr. Clay,
Yes, sir.
any questions?
Got that.
Oh, sir, Mr. Petrie?
No, sir, no questions. No, sir. All for Mr. Clay.
Thank you. State.
Your Honor, I just note for the record that this juror seemed to have a difficult time understanding and responding in English, and after consultation with defense, we've agreed to excuse her by agreement.
Mr. Petrie?
Your Honor, we agree in both her oral responses here and in some of her written responses, there seems to be a language problem, so we do join in that motion.
You should be released for cause. Should be 22 next. You can stand right there, sir. Thank you. Ms. Hill.
Okay, if I could just follow up with you with a few questions. I think you told us that you could potentially have a conflict if you get selected to serve as a juror in this case.
Yes.
Would you elaborate a bit more for us?
I already have travel plans with the country on the 11th.
Leave the country on the 11th. Where are you going?
Jamaica.
For a vacation or? How long were you scheduled to be out of the country?
7 days. I'll be there gone through the 17th.
You already have tickets in hand? Non-refundable?
That's what, yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Let's see, I don't believe I have any more questions. Thank you.
Mr. Clay?
Very briefly, sir, I apologize. I had a little difficulty hearing you. I know you have a family vacation sometime in August. When exactly is it?
The 11th and the 17th.
11th through the
17th.
17th, and where are you going again?
Jamaica.
Jamaica, okay. All right, that's fine. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Just follow the instructions, Mr. Clay. Thank you, sir. State's position.
Judge, I believe by agreement, because of his travel arrangements and prepaid tickets, we would agree to have him excused for cause.
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right, I will accept that agreement.
Let's see.
Should be 23 next. Sure, come on, Lawrence, please. You may proceed. Miss, who's witness in this trial? Who's your defendant?
Yes, Judge.
Is it Miss Hill?
Yes, Your Honor, and by agreement, we don't have any questions.
That's correct.
All right, thank you. You may go back to the jury. Number 24, please.
John, may we hold just 1 second on number 24 so that the
Yeah, you can.
inquire.
You can.
I was just asking Ms. Hill to look at it. How much it is.
Your Honor, just for the record, on juror number 23, who was just excused by agreement, we agreed to do that based on the responses in his questionnaire. They appeared to be pretty extreme, in addition to the fact that he actually had prepaid travel arrangements as well. But it was
mostly responses.
But it was primarily because of his responses on the questionnaire. Yes, Your Honor.
So noted.
And that's just for the record.
I'll read the questionnaires also. 24 is coming in next. Number 24? Yes, ma'am. Yes. Thank you, Ms. Hill.
Thank you, Judge.
Just need to follow up with a few questions for you. I think you told us this morning that you have seen, actually, you've seen some press coverage since filling out your questionnaire. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, also too.
Well, I guess before
Before, right,
and after?
in passing, yes.
Okay. And anything about what you have seen that causes you to form an opinion one way or another about the defendant's innocence or guilt?
I had an opinion before, so nothing that I've seen over the past weekend is going to determine anything for my decision one way or another. I'm already locked in.
You're locked in and fixed about your opinion. And if you were selected to sit as a juror, is it fair to say that there's nothing either side could present to you that would change your opinion?
Probably, honestly, I couldn't be impartial.
You cannot be. And it's fine. I'm just trying to get a real fair
Like you said,
assessment
a lot
from
of
you.
stuff I've been following it, and I just don't think I can be impartial because I know this is her life online, and I want to be impartial. Be every opportunity that she has to get a fair deal, but me personally, I can't make that decision.
Okay. All right. So, and what you're saying basically is you understand that the defendant is entitled to a fair trial.
Yes.
And if you had to have a person with the opinion that you already have sit as a juror on your case, you would not be comfortable with that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Okay. And that wouldn't depend on, I mean, that wouldn't change depending on anything you heard throughout the trial. Okay. Thank you.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Just follow the instruction of the clerk. Same position.
Yes, Your Honor, the state would move to have juror 24 excused based on his answers in the questionnaire as well as here in court today. He said he could not be a fair and impartial juror if selected.
We join that motion.
All right, I'll grant that motion. 24 be released to call. 25 is next. Whose witness is this? If you can remain standing. Ms. Hill, if you could come on up, please. And propound a question if you have any.
Yes, sir. Okay, juror 25, I'd like to ask you about a couple of the answers you gave this morning. And I think you told us that if you were selected to sit as a juror on this case, you could have a potential scheduling conflict.
Yes,
Would you tell us about that, please?
it might, as far as my work,
Okay. What type of work do you do?
I'm a manager over an installation company.
And are you salaried or hourly?
Salary.
So if you are selected to sit as a juror, do you know what your company's policy is regarding jury service?
No, not right now. That's one of the reasons I have to check and see.
Okay. Other than
that potential work conflict. Any other scheduling conflicts?
No.
All right. I think you also told us that since you have filled out the questionnaire on Friday, you've seen continuing press coverage regarding this case?
I heard press coverage
Okay.
on the radio this morning.
All right. What'd you hear?
About the trial and that jury selection was starting, and they gave a little bit about the case itself when it was back in 2010.
Okay. Anything about what you heard this morning that caused you to form any opinions one way or another?
No.
Okay. And I think you indicated in your questionnaire that prior to hearing the coverage this morning, you really didn't remember much about this case.
No.
Okay. And if you were selected to sit as a juror on this case, you would have to base all of your evidence solely on what you hear in court today. Are you comfortable doing that?
Yes.
Not today, but throughout the
Yes.
course of the trial?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see, and I want to just go back briefly to your employment. You're an office manager,
Yes.
and you've been working there for 11 years?
Yes.
All right. So do you normally take vacation?
No.
No?
Take days off during the year, basically.
Mm-hmm. Is this the first time you've ever been called for jury service?
No, I've been called 2 other times.
Did you actually get selected to serve?
No.
Okay. At that time, did you inquire about the policy regarding
No.
pay?
No, it was just for 1 day, and that was it. I was only here a day.
Okay. The other thing you indicated in your questionnaire is that either you or someone who is close to you has gone through a divorce.
Yes.
And do you mind sharing with us who the person is?
I've been through a divorce.
Okay, how long ago?
Maybe, it might have been 10 or 12 years ago.
Okay. Throughout the time of your divorce, either just leading up to it or during the divorce itself, was there anything particularly messy or?
No.
Nothing? Okay.
Nothing.
All right. Yes, Judge. I don't believe I have any more. Just one,
All right, thank you.
1 second.
Mr. Clegg?
You have, from what appears on the questionnaire, an interesting educational background, ma'am. You have you said you had a BS degree, and is that in business management or was it in nursing?
Business management, LPN in nursing.
Okay. Have you worked as a nurse in the past?
Yes.
How often or how long ago has it been since you worked as a nurse?
It has been maybe 20 years now.
Okay. Do you still have your LPN license?
No, I just stopped it this year.
Okay. Okay. Now, you supervise 10 different people in your job, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have authority to both hire and fire individuals?
Yes.
And have you in fact done both?
Yes.
Okay. Is that in your current position?
Yes.
How long exactly have you been in your current position? 11 years, is that about right?
I've been employed there 11 years, but I've been an office manager over the whole, maybe the past 6 years.
Okay. How large an organization is it that you work for?
Right now it's very small due to the economy, but I was managing up to 75 men at one time. Right now we're in the I have maybe 10, and then also I manage, we do contractors.
Okay. You are unfamiliar with the office policy as to whether you get paid if you are on jury duty, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. As office manager, do you have any input into setting that policy?
No, our policies come from our Florida group.
Okay. And you have, so at this point, you have no idea if you get on this jury whether you will get paid or not?
That is correct.
Okay. Do you have some concern if you were to be selected to sit on this jury that it might affect your flow of income?
Yes, it will.
Would that affect your ability to focus on the evidence that was presented in this courtroom?
No.
Okay. So you could set that aside and listen to the evidence and decide this case fairly without, in the back of your mind, having to worry about the prospect of having your pay cut off.
That is correct.
Good enough, ma'am. Your former husband, I think, was a victim of a robbery, is that correct?
That is correct.
How long ago was that, ma'am?
30-some years ago.
Okay. When you say a robbery, was it a face-to-face confrontation between himself and another person?
He robbed a store.
Okay, so he was the one doing the robbing as opposed to the individual who was the victim. Okay, were you married at that time?
No.
Okay, would you have had any reason to attend any sort of court proceeding relative to the charges that were brought against him?
No.
Okay, did he get a prison sentence as a result?
Yes, he did.
Have you had contact with him since?
No, he's now deceased, but after he was out of the penitentiary, yes, I had.
Okay. Would any of that affect your ability to sit as a fair and impartial juror in this particular case?
No.
And other than what you heard this weekend, I guess, was it today?
It was today on the news.
Okay, was it WSB or was it a different station?
It was the news station.
Okay. Scott Slade, was he on the radio by any chance? Do you know that name?
I don't know.
Fair enough, man. But good enough. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Please follow the instructions of the clerk. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Morgan.
Just for the benefit of his older lawyers, when you should break time.
All right, I understand. What's the state's position?
State release juror 25 is qualified judge.
She certainly is.
All right, she's qualified. Let's go ahead and ask Mr. Make inquiry. April, Deputy Garrett, he can tell a whole. Lawyers, let's take 5 minutes, Deputy Garrett.
All rise.
Ms. Carpenter, would you make a note of the oldest lawyer in the break right now?
Let me put that on the record.
Thank you. You just want to write consent to her?
And an identical one to the filed in this case.
Sorry. That's okay. I'm not sure that it is.
Just file a copy of that and I'm just thinking in case I
Whatever she needs.
someone ever looks for it.
Oh, that's what happened.
seated. Number 26. Oh, you can put your purse, your things in the chair. Make yourself comfortable. No, you have to stand though. Go right ahead, Mr. James.
Yes, sir. Ma'am, I see that you were a juror on a murder case before? Okay. What county was that in? Clayton County? And how long ago was that?
10, 15 years ago.
Now, without telling me what the verdict was, were you all able to reach a verdict?
Yes.
Okay. I also see that you have been exposed to some media coverage about this case, and specifically I want to ask you about your responses, or your response rather, on question 52. You have co-workers and family discussions.
We briefly talked about what we saw on television and what we heard.
Okay, can you fill us in on what you and your family and your co-workers discussed?
Just basically, I guess the part about the daycare and going to the daycare and shooting and just some of the things that we heard on the television.
Okay. Did you ever express an opinion about the guilt or the innocence of any of the players in the case, Hemy Neuman or Mrs. Sneiderman?
No, because I wasn't really into it that well.
Okay. Is there anything about what you've heard in the media that would prevent you from being a fair and impartial juror in this case?
No.
Thank you very much.
Clay, Morgan.
Mr. Morgan.
Mr. Morgan.
Juror number 26 is Reverend Black, Celia, preacher. And based on you have no opinion one way or the other about this case?
No. I was watching news up until the time of court.
And I believe you also said you got some of it from the internet?
Yeah, internet, read a couple of sites on the internet, but I haven't made a decision of guilty or innocent.
And the sites you looked at on the internet, were those news sites, or how did you go about, and what type of news sites on the internet did you look at?
Well, when you go to Google, they have like highlighted stuff, and you just click on whatever is highlighted at the time of that day, whatever on that day.
Well, you may have answered the question. Were you specifically looking for information about this case, or just any news in general, and this case popped up?
Exactly.
So this case was not specifically on your mind when you were searching the web?
Right.
Okay.
It's just something that popped up.
And your co-workers that you said in the jury questionnaire that you discussed this case with, y'all never formulated an opinion one way or the other, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you, Judge.
You can follow the instructions of the clerk. Thank you very much.
No objection.
No objection.
All right, qualified. Number 26. Seven should be next. proceed, yes, sir. No, proceed, I'm sorry. Thank you very much, number 27.
I want to, juror number 27, ask you about the media coverage that you've seen in this case. Specifically, in question number 54, you responded that the defendant was apparently emotionally and perhaps romantically connected to Mrs. Sneiderman. Can you tell us how you came to that conclusion?
I don't know any real details about their actual connection, which is why I think I indicated another answer to another question. I didn't quite understand the connection.
Okay.
But that there was at least I believe, an inference in the media that there may have been some connection between Ms. Sneiderman and the gentleman.
So it's fair to say you inferred that from the media coverage that you saw or listened to.
I inferred there was a sense of that, yes.
Okay.
But I didn't pursue it and read about it particularly. Wasn't at that time wasn't something I read a great deal of, or went out my way to listen to, say news coverage of.
Okay. Do you know the defendant? Do you know the defense put forth by Hemy Neuman at his trial? You says, no, he did seem somewhat pathetic.
That was a very general inference I got from the news coverage.
Okay.
I didn't quite, like I said, I didn't understand. There wasn't anything that was clear to me about it.
Okay. When you say he seemed somewhat pathetic, can you explain to us what you mean by that?
It seemed that there was it seemed like perhaps a ill-fated attempt to accomplish something that didn't seem to work out very well at all.
Okay, let me be more direct. When you say an ill-fated attempt to accomplish something that did not work at all,
well, it didn't seem to be something that was. I didn't quite understand what the purpose of it was.
Did you question or doubt the validity of the defense put forward in that particular case?
I don't really know what his defense was.
Okay. On question number 51, you responded, it says, do you have any opinions about this case? And your response was, I don't understand the man's attraction for Mrs. Sneiderman. Can you explain that?
I think it had to do with that the newspaper photographs seemed to not were less flattering than her actual appearance.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if it was the nature of the photographs or if it was intentional or not.
Harold Edwards.
I know a Harold Edwards. I have no idea whether it's the same Harold Edwards.
Do you know how Mr. Edwards is employed or where he's employed?
I haven't seen him in years, and I have no idea where he's employed.
Okay. If this were the same Harold Edwards that you know or that you have not seen in years, would that in fact affect your ability to be impartial? Would you give his testimony more or less weight because you know this individual?
I know him to be, in my experience, he was a very upstanding man, so I would have no qualms about his testimony.
Okay, let me ask the question again. Would you give his?
I would not be unduly biased towards it, but I would definitely not unduly question it.
Okay. I also see that you are that you have an affiliation with the Southern Poverty Law Center. Member?
Yeah.
Okay. What is the extent of your involvement other than just being a member with the Southern Poverty Law Center?
A member at the lowest level of subscription.
Okay.
For maybe the last 5 years.
All right. And someone close to you or either yourself has experienced divorce as well, is that correct?
Yes, I'm 60. A lot of the women I date or have dated have been divorced.
Yeah,
Time in their lives.
I understand.
And I've gone through, friends going through the divorces.
Is there any,
This building.
let's talk about your friends going through divorces. Are there anything about those divorces that's been shared with you that was particularly contentious? Any of those divorces got ugly?
One of them took a whole week in Judge Hunter's courtroom.
Okay.
Somewhere in this building.
All right. Is there any reason you can?
Lost the custody battle.
Yes, sir. Is there any reason you can think of that you could not be a fair and impartial juror in this case? Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, looks like you perform several functions for Just People, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. My involvement with Just People has been with, I think there's a campus in Lilburn.
Yes.
Do you go to different campuses, or are you I think there's a couple in Gwinnett County all over?
Yes, they have two housing facilities, one in Gwinnett County, in Lilburn, one in Fulton County. And I pick up people from the facility in Gwinnett County and drive them to their day program, and then possibly drive people to outings and activities from there.
Okay.
And then return them home, in addition to picking up people in, say, Gwinnett and Fulton County.
Okay, so you do go occasionally to the Lilburn campus then?
5 days a week.
Okay, then let me ask you this. I represented a gentleman from there who was charged with an on-campus sexual assault about 2 years ago. There were a number of witnesses from the Just People outfit. Were you involved in that case at all?
I started working 3 months ago.
Okay.
And that's the first I ever heard of anything like this.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, your second job, you are an English as a second language instructor in the evenings, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Your conflict with work then would be with your job at Just People during the daytime.
Yes.
And you indicated that it would be, I think the words you used would be difficult for them. It would be difficult for my employer to cover for me for several weeks. Can you let us know, assuming, I don't want to say worst case scenario, but assuming you were a juror in this case for the next several weeks,
Yes.
could arrangements be made, although difficult, or would the program suffer? Your best estimate as to what the result would be?
It would be, it would stretch the other employees somewhat in terms of, say, driving the van or driving the bus and covering activities during that time. And to my understanding, I wouldn't necessarily get paid by them during this time either.
Okay, so there would be a financial hardship for you?
That would be that, yeah.
Okay. Your Honor, bear with me just one second. You indicated that a recent case from Florida, the Zimmerman case, causes you some concern, but you understand, quote, how the system works. You understand how the verdict was rendered. Yeah. Is there anything about your, I guess, frustration as to how the system works sometime that would affect your ability to give Mrs. Sneiderman a fair trial and the state a fair trial in this case?
No.
Okay. You indicated that your roommate's son has had, I think your language was, very mixed experiences with law enforcement. Would that experience of someone that you are somewhat close to, would that have any bearing on your ability, again, to be fair and impartial in this case, sir?
No.
Okay. And your knowledge of this case from the press, you know some of the allegations, you've seen some of the reports on it, but in a very general way, is that correct?
Very general.
Okay. Based upon what you have seen about this case, and I think there've been some, looks like you get local news, newspaper, radio, 90.1 as well. Yeah. Anything that you have heard recently that you think would affect your ability to be fair in this case, sir?
No.
Okay. Now, you indicated that you probably have met Mr. Morgan at at a social function before.
Yes.
Any reason to think that that would have any effect on your ability to be fair?
No.
And you believe that you have seen Judge Adams in the news. Anything that you've seen about Judge Adams in the news would affect your ability to be fair?
No.
Okay. Bear with me, please, Your Honor, just 1 second.
You may.
And you generally respect both prosecutors and defense attorneys?
I've known both.
Okay.
And AGs.
Okay.
Or deputy AGs.
Okay. I thank you very much, Your Honor. Thank you.
Yes, following the instruction of the clerk, please. Thank you. State's position?
No objection.
Defense?
Please qualify, Your Honor. Sorry. Please qualify.
Thank you. Qualified, number 2728 should be next. You may proceed, Mr. James.
Juror number 28,
You can remain standing, sir. I'll just let you proceed.
I understand that what you know about the case is, quote, Neuman is doing life. Is that correct? All right. How did you come to that conclusion? Did you hear about it? Okay. Other than the fact that Neuman is doing life, have you heard anything else about the case?
No.
Okay. I also see that there is someone that's a friend or a family member or that you know that has a has a DUI conviction as well.
DUI?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right. Who is that?
Sister-in-law, husband.
Okay. How close were you to that case?
Well, I just hear about it, it's my sister-in-law, husband.
Okay.
So,
Was it here in DeKalb County?
yeah.
Okay.
No, in Gwinnett.
In Gwinnett? Do you feel like he was treated fair by the system out in Gwinnett County?
Well, you do the crime, you do the time.
Yes, sir. Is there any reason whatsoever that you can think of that you cannot sit as a fair and impartial juror in this case?
Well, I ain't got nothing against anybody, so I'll be fair.
Yeah. You'll be fair. Thank you, sir.
Flag?
Yes, thank you, Judge. Yes, sir. In one of the questions, question number 39 on the questionnaire, the question reads as follows. Do you have any reason you believe you cannot be true to your oath as a juror? And you answered yes. Does that mean you believe that you might not be able to honor your oath if you were picked as a juror?
Well, I will honor it.
I speak up, Tad, sir.
I will honor it.
He says, I will honor it.
You will honor it. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. So, did you misunderstand the question, perhaps? That's fine. I got your answer. Okay. You indicated that one of your friends was treated bad during the course of their criminal prosecution. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was in New York.
Okay. And do you think your feeling as to that would affect your ability to sit as a fair and impartial juror in this case at all?
No.
Okay. Did your knowledge that Mr. Neuman was doing a life sentence come from information at the time of the trial of Mr. Neuman, or did it come at a later date?
Yeah. At the time after the trial
Okay.
finished.
Did you watch the trial or pay attention to Mr. Newman's trial while it was taking place? No. Okay. Did you know the name Andrea Sneiderman prior to getting a summons for jury service and reading the jury questionnaire?
No.
Okay. Is today or Friday the first time you had ever heard that name in your life? Okay. Do you have any opinion as you stand here today about whether she is guilty or not guilty of the crimes that she is charged with that you heard read this morning?
No.
Okay. Can you think of any reason, sir, why you could not be a fair and impartial juror?
Why I could not get an impartial juror?
Speak up just a tad, I'm sorry.
Why I could not be a fair and impartial juror. I got nothing against,
No reason you could not?
I could be a fair juror, yeah.
Okay. You are originally from Guyana, is that correct? And I apologize for my lack of geography. Is that in South America?
Yeah.
Okay. Is the native language in Guyana something other than English?
No, English.
Okay, so that English is your first language, sir?
Yes.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you. Number 20, just follow the clerk, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next position.
No objection.
No objection,
All right, qualified. Number 29 will be next. He's with you. You live sometime. Excuse me. She's with you. Maybe sit down.
Ma'am, let me ask you about your trip plans coming up. If you could, let's start with the first trip. When is it, and what are your plans?
The first trip is a trip with my mother. We're driving, so we can cancel it.
Okay. And what are those dates?
That's the 12th.
The 12th.
13th, 14th.
And what about the next trip?
And then the last weekend, I think it's the 28th of the month. I've already bought a plane ticket.
That's August the 28th?
Yes, the end of the month. It's the last weekend of the month. I think it's the 24th or something like that. I'm probably on that Saturday.
You have served on a jury before, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you said lawsuit, business dispute.
Yeah, it was sort of I didn't understand all of that. It's hard for me to remember. I didn't understand at the time, but something like that. The husband was suing that company and they would per back pay or something.
Yeah. Were you all able to reach a verdict?
We did.
Okay. You also have some experience with divorce as well, is that correct?
My parents are divorced.
Your parents?
And one of my brothers.
All right,
And I've been divorced.
Okay. Let's start with yourself. Was that a particularly contentious divorce, or?
No, I was in my early 20s right out of college. We got married. It wasn't working. We went to the court together.
Yeah.
Went to a movie after. It wasn't contentious.
How about your parents?
That was contentious.
Okay.
But I mean, there was a dispute over alimony and child support.
How long ago was that?
Early 80s. I was in junior high school.
Okay. Is there any reason you can think of that you cannot sit as a fair and impartial juror in this case, ma'am?
I don't believe so.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you. Juror 29, I believe you answered that you know someone else on the jury panel.
Don't know. They said, did you recognize? I saw a woman. We knew each other, looked familiar. We spoke, introduced ourselves. Couldn't remember how we met or when. We just recognized each other.
I believe we may have questioned another juror from Turner. You don't recognize any
I
other?
did not see anybody recognized from work. No.
Okay, and what do you do for Turner, ma'am?
I work in an IT group, and we work the financial software.
And the trip at the end of August, is that a personal trip or
That's a
business
personal
trip?
trip.
Okay. And do you recall whether or not the plane ticket is refundable or non-refundable?
I don't think it is. It was like a couple $100. I mean, I understand that that's not necessarily reason to get out of it.
And you mentioned in your questionnaire that you were shot at on the interstate. Can you elaborate on that, please?
That's from a long time, in 90 something, like early 90s. I just moved to Atlanta. I was on the interstate with a friend of mine. We got mad, somebody cut us off, and then we pulled up to him to try to yell at him, and he shot a gun at us, and I was like,
That was here in
"Okay,
Atlanta.
that's Atlanta, yeah.
Was that reported to the police?
I did.
Okay. And probably in an incident like that, unless you've got a very good description, they got away. Is that correct?
Well, we actually got the tag number, called the police immediately. They caught the guy, and he just said he wasn't in the car that day.
And there was no further investigation. Because of that, did that leave you with any impressions of the criminal justice system one way or the
I
other?
wasn't really pleased with that result.
Okay. Do you recall which police department investigated the case?
It happened near Jonesboro, so I think the trial took place in Jonesboro or South.
Okay. Clayton County was not DeKalb then.
Correct.
And you grew up as a child of an Army officer, correct?
Yes.
So you traveled around a lot.
A little less because he was closer to retirement. I'm the youngest. So we traveled less. We lived places longer than my brothers did. So.
No further questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. If you just follow the instructions of the clerk, please. Thank you. State position. No question. Qualified. Thank you. 30 should be next. James,
Sir, you indicated in response to being fair and impartial, and I'll read your response. I think she's guilty. Can
Just by reading the newspaper before Friday.
okay, before Friday, is there anything that's happened
No.
since Friday that's changed your mind?
No, sir.
As you stand here right now, do you still think that she's guilty, she being the defendant?
No, it was just my opinion.
Okay, is that still your opinion?
I think so.
Okay. Is that a fixed opinion, or could you listen to the judge's instruction when he tells you to listen to the facts and the evidence and
Yes.
keep an open mind and be impartial?
Yes.
Do you believe that you can do that?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure you can do that? Can you set aside any personal opinions that you may have held before you came in this courtroom and judge this case based on the facts and evidence as they are presented to you?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Thank you. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Peter?
Thank you. Sir, you had answered in response to question 54, which I'm sure you don't remember by number, but it says, did you see or hear anything about the State versus Hemy Neuman? Then it goes on to say, if you said yes, did you see anything specific about Andrea Sneiderman in that trial? And you said yes. Then it went further. If yes, what did you see or hear? And there's something that's scratched out, and then you wrote, lie in court.
Correct.
Okay. Do you believe that you saw her lie in court, or you just saw allegations that she lied in court? I'm a little confused as to that answer.
I'm just seeing it on the news.
Okay. But did you see her and form your own opinion, hey, she's lying, or you saw in the news that someone accused her of lying?
Just formed my own opinion.
Okay. So your opinion was that she was lying in that trial?
Correct.
Okay. And you indicated that the sources for that opinion were television, WSB, and from the newspaper.
Correct.
Okay. Then, rather succinctly and bluntly in question 59, based on what you have heard about the case or on the facts as set out above, is there anything about this case that might make it difficult for you to sit as a fair and impartial juror? You stated, I think she's guilty.
Correct.
Okay. Now, that is what you filled out on Friday. And you indicated to Mr. James that you believe you could set that aside and render a verdict based on the evidence. Is that correct, that you did tell him that?
Correct.
Now, sir, are you able to tell us here today that you are satisfied that your pre-trial opinions, which seem rather blunt, that Mrs. Sneiderman is guilty, that you can set those aside, forget about those opinions that you had beforehand, and base your determination solely on what evidence comes from this courtroom taken in light of the law that Judge Adams gives you? Can you guarantee us that, sir?
Yes.
Okay. You indicated, I think, that the only time conflict that you have, sir, begins on August the 24th in Newport, or do you need to be there earlier than the 24th?
Probably be there on the Friday.
And
23rd.
okay, the 24th is a Saturday?
Correct.
So you are good between now and the 23rd?
Yes.
If you're on this jury, the judge has given you what we believe is a good faith estimate from both sides as to how long the trial is going to take. If we get to the 23rd and for whatever reason this trial is not through, what does that do to your plans? Is it something, are you a member of the wedding party? Are you a guest, a relative? Is it going to be, basically, I guess what I'm trying to say is it the end of the world for you or for somebody else if you're not there?
I fly a lady up. I work with senior citizens, and her family hires me to fly the lady to the wedding.
Okay, so you are an escort for someone, and it looks like you work at Lynbrook.
Correct.
Okay. Now, both your other job at McKinnon's, they haven't been on Cheshire Bridge for years. They're up on Maple Drive now.
Correct.
Okay. So both of your jobs are in Buckhead.
Right.
Okay. And if in fact you are on this jury, sir, would someone else be able to have the onerous task of going to Newport, Rhode Island in the summertime?
I probably could find some.
Okay. And what do you do at Lynbrook?
I lost my job in 2010, and I just worked for about 6 or 7 people on my own.
Okay, you do individual tasks, sort of I don't want to, a Man Friday.
Correct.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Just follow the instructions of the clerk. Okay. Thank you. Any from the state?
No objection.
Defense?
Your Honor, we do object to this juror. He was rehabilitated by the state nominally, but we believe that was only after successive questioning by Mr. James. His unrehabilitated answers clearly state, quote, "What did you see or hear lying in court? I think she's guilty." I do not believe that juror, Your Honor, can offer Mrs. Sneiderman the fair and impartial judgment of a juror who has not prejudged this case, and we would move to excuse this juror for cause.
Home. Ms. James?
Your Honor, I think the juror was very clear. I didn't press him. I asked him one time if he could listen to the court's instruction and follow it and be fair and impartial. And he didn't hesitate. He didn't equivocate. He said one time that he could. I went beyond that and asked him if he was sure. I believe twice or maybe perhaps even 3 times. And every time that I asked him, that I inquired whether or not he was sure, the juror responded, yes, in fact, he was sure. Subsequent to that, Mr. Petrie got up and engaged in the same line of questioning. And this juror was unshaken, unmoved, and indicated that unequivocally that he could follow the court's instruction and be a fair and impartial juror.
Speech, anything else for the record?
No, sir.
I'm just looking at Daniels that says, of course, a potential juror who is inclined toward either party is not to be disqualified if she or he will be able to set aside her or his opinion and decide the case based upon the evidence and the court's charge. And he responded he could. At this point in time, he's qualified. 30's qualified. Number 30 qualified. Bring the next one.